I think Shohei Ohtani is an elite pitcher. I think he's an elite hitter. He'll never be the best at either one because nobody's forcing him to be that. Mm-hmm. And when I look at Shohei Ohtani, he has Cy Young Award stuff. When I look at Shohei Ohtani, he's got Silver Slugger stuff. But I just don't think we'll ever see it. And I thought last night was the perfect example of this against the White Sox, national TV. We're going to, it comes down to what I believe was a stunt by Joe Madden in the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, which was, hey, start Shohei Ohtani on the mound and then bat him second. First time that's happened. Yeah, first time that's happened in over 100 years. We're on national TV. Let's do it. And what happened? Well, as always has been the case with Shohei Ohtani, and ended in disaster. The guy comes up to the plate and hits an absolute moonshot, a 451-foot home run. Full stop. That's it. That's the story of last night's game. All right, see you in 5 days. That's the story that's being told, right? Oh, he hit this incredible home run. Nobody's talking about the disaster in the top of the fifth inning, where Shohei Ohtani, by the way, I thought dominated for 3 innings, had an okay fourth inning, and then fell the fuck apart in the fifth inning. We're not supposed to curse on the show anymore. Not supposed to curse anymore,
bro.
That's been a thing. He fell apart in the fifth inning.
Yeah.
Right? We should put a jar on the counter or something.
Yeah.
Ohtani fell apart in the fifth inning. Mm-hmm. And walk guys, drop third strike. And no, we should not eliminate the drop third strike from baseball. No. If you're a big league catcher, catch the ball. That's your job. And that wouldn't have happened.
Right.
So if you missed it, Ohtani was pretty solid through 4 innings, right? Like, would you agree with that?
He dominated them, dude. I mean, he had full control of the game. And I think that it got adventurous in the fifth, no doubt. And I think that
the split, the fastball, obviously, everybody's talking about how, oh, man, he hit a 115-mile-an-hour home run, and then he threw for over 100 miles an hour. First player to ever do that. All right, cool. Yeah. We get it.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, if you're just looking at the box score, he looks like a dominant player last night. Mm-hmm. And what I'm telling you is he was not a dominant player last night because you can't overlook what happened in the fifth.
Okay.
And as usual with Shohei, I feel like this is a situation where it started unbelievably and then it ended in disaster. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much longer the Angels are willing to put up with that. And it's still this thing with the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles County, Riverside. There's a drop where it says, thank you. It still is on the Angels, who refuse to make this guy have a regimented schedule. So what I mean by that is when you're a pitcher, you're on a 5-day calendar about 30 times a year. 5-day calendar, 30 times your season's over. Shohei Ohtani, it doesn't work that way. They do not make him go through the traditional pitcher calendar. Well, because if he does that, he's going to miss batting practice. Well, they don't make him go through the traditional batting practice schedule because if he does that, he'll miss his pitching rotations.
Uh-huh.
So he doesn't do either. So he doesn't take part in pitcher fielding practice known as PFPs. So last night on back-to-back pitches, the wild pitch is really telling because he's in the wrong spot to cover the plate. Then on the pitch where he gets clipped, and I can't believe he didn't break his leg, on this play at the plate where Abreu slides in and absolutely cuts him out at the ankles. Ohtani jumps and lands on the plate right where the runner's legs are.
Right.
That was never going to end well. But why is Ohtani in the wrong spot? Because he's in front of the plate, resets himself, jumps, and is on the plate. And yes, I get it. The throw was bad. It took him. The whole point of setting yourself up in front of the plate, not on the plate or next to the plate, is so that if there is a bad throw, it doesn't put you into the line of the runner so you don't get that ass blown up.
Yeah.
But Ohtani didn't set up in the right spot. And why is that? Because he's not taking part in spring training and pitcher fielding practice, so he's not covering home plate. And the other thing that I think was very clear, he did not anticipate a bad throw from the catcher to the first baseman, which is baseball 101. We both played baseball.
Yeah.
They teach you from day one that you put on a glove. Hey, you got to, if ball is here, you are here as a pitcher.
Yeah.
Right? You got to cover the plate. You got to cover third. You got whatever it is. There is a place you are supposed to be in every situation.
Yeah.
When there is a wild pitch and there is a runner in scoring position, you are to cover home plate. Whether that's a drop third strike or a traditional wild pitch, you have to cover home plate. Why is that? Because that catcher's going to throw the ball to first, and what if it's a bad throw? Now all of a sudden the runner's coming home. So you got to cover home plate. Ohtani, that never crossed his mind until all of a sudden he was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
And then he tries to cover home plate, and he just has no positioning because he doesn't take part.
And I think too the other side that not just the physical side of the game, right? Not just like, hey, I have to be in the right spot or be here or there, but I also think that the speed with which the Major League Baseball level of player moves, like runners, hitters, the speed with which they throw the baseball, all that stuff is incredibly fast, right? The game moves 1,000,000 miles an hour. And so if you're this guy, which Shohei is, who is trying to be a two-way player, who, is pitching and hitting, and you're doing all this stuff, and you're not on a traditional schedule, by not getting those reps, not only are you not sure how you're supposed to cover something, but there will be times where he is confused. And it's not, this isn't a thing where, again, as you were just saying before we started talking about this isn't like hey, he sucks. We're not saying that. What we're saying is that, and they talked about it on the broadcast last night if you watched the game, what we're saying here is that the Angels are doing a really poor job of putting him in a position to have success. Right now, he's dominating because he has raw ability, and that ability has been honed for several years, both overseas and in the bigs. My main issue here is that I don't think mentally as a player, whether we're talking Ohtani or any other player in the big leagues, I don't personally believe that there is a human being on planet Earth who can go out every fifth day and give you a 100-pitch start and survive 6 innings, but then also that same day also have the mindset in the box about how to hit. And like be locked in on both sides. That's just asking too much. What's going to happen when you're in the playoff stretch run, when you're trying to win a division or you got to win a big game, and he's just taxed mentally. These are the things that nobody in the media wants to talk about because most dudes in the media haven't played the game. And so when you haven't played the game, you don't understand. You know how much of an ass kicking it is as a pitcher to get to the ballpark in the morning, go through your strength training session, then go run like 3 to 5 miles on the outfield track, then come back, take a shower, watch tape. After you've watched tape, now we're going to eat, we're going to take a nap, and then we're going to come back to the ballpark and we're going to get ready to go. Where in there are you going to work on your hitting technique? Where in there are you going to so you're going to watch tape on you pitching, and then you're also going to watch tape on the starter for the other team? That's not possible. It's not feasible.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm saying this whole idea that Shohei's going to be this Hall of Fame player who's going to play both ways and do it for 20 years, it's fairy dust. It's not real. It's not feasible.
Well, and there's too much of this, and this is probably going to go a little too deep for a lot of baseball fans. There's something called 3 true outcomes, right? It's a home run, a strikeout, or a walk. 3 true outcomes, that's it. We've become too reliant on that. And it's because of the stat era, this belief that statistics are all that matters. What I'm telling you is there's a lot more to it than that. If I'm the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles in Riverside, I still cannot say LA Angels of Anaheim. If I'm the Angels, I'm putting him on a regimented schedule. Hey, if you really want this guy to pitch and hit, which I'm telling you is a mistake, one or the other is difficult. I think it's impossible to do both. You need to give this guy an advantage mentally. And my feeling is that you need to let him be Albert Pujols' heir apparent at first base.
Mm-hmm.
And once Fat Albert retires after this year, thankfully, if you're an Angel fan, I would have him be my everyday first baseman. Here's why I say that. Because you can never have too many at-bats. You can never hit too many home runs. You can never score too many runs. It's never enough. And Shohei Ohtani gives you the opportunity to score 6, 7, 8 runs a game, right? What are we seeing in baseball today? Pitchers don't go 5 innings.
Yeah.
They don't, right? The quality starts a thing of the past. And we've talked about this on this show for years. 6 innings, 3 earned or less. That's the bar. Nobody's meeting that bar. I look at Shohei Ohtani last night, and I'll just give you his numbers. And you tell me again, and I guess the question on the board here is, was last night a good night for Shohei Ohtani? Because I think if you flip on MLB Network and Hot Heidi Watney's there, you're going to be like, oh, this was a great night for Shohei Ohtani. Oh, my God, 451 feet. Boom goes the dynamite. Shohei Ohtani last night, 4 2/3, 2 hits, 3 runs, 1 earned. 5 walks, 7 Ks, 4 2/3, 92 pitches, only 53 strikes.
So how many walks was it again? Sorry.
5 walks.
So what that's telling you is that, yeah, he's got the ability, but he's not, again, last night in particular, he wasn't sharp. I mean, again, I watched the entire start, and in the first 3 innings, yeah, I mean, he was pretty dominant. But there were moments where he wasn't. There were moments where he just wasn't able to lock it in. And so I think that, I don't know, man, I think that the guy deserves a lot of respect for the fact that he can do what he can do. I mean,
his talent's unquestioned.
Yeah, I mean, the idea that you can hit a baseball 450 feet and you can throw 100 miles an hour is absolutely ludicrous. But at the same time, the Angels, and maybe this is the true discussion on this topic, it's not even really about Shohei, it's about the Angels, and it's about the fact that they're forever going to have wasted Mike Trout's career, and they're forever have going to been a mediocre franchise because they don't know how to baseball. They don't know how to do what they need to do to put their team in the best possible position to win. And so, when I think, okay, well, would I rather have him on the field 160 times a season, or would I rather have him on the mound, 30 times a year? I mean, I think I probably would rather have him as an everyday player, just because I think that there are so many guys now coming up in the pipe who can throw 100 miles an hour. It's not special anymore. It's not.
And the other thing that I think people forget is once you see 100 miles an hour once, the second time you see 100 miles an hour, it's a fastball.
And it happened last night. I mean, it was the beginning of the inning. I mean, he threw 99 down the middle. The guy sent it right back up the middle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not. Big leaguers are used to it now. So I just think that if I'm the Angels, I'm making him an everyday player. But I don't know, man. They're clearly not there yet.
Yeah, and I could be making too much of it for sure. Sean says, all right, guys, so I'm an Angels fan, and I love Ohtani. I do think he should just hit until we know that he's good to pitch. He's a great hitter. I think he's good to pitch. You just got to he needs to be one way or the other. And to finish my point on Ohtani, here's the problem. He decides what he does. The Angels do not dictate to Shohei. Since the day they signed him, they agreed to let him set his regiment. They agreed to let him make the call on whether he pitches and hits at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's not up to the Angels. And that's a huge, huge issue. You need him to be an everyday first baseman.
Correct.
You don't. I think you're wasting him. And by the way, what did you get out of him at the plate last night? You did get a bomb. Mm-hmm. That was awesome. He was 1 for 3, and then he was out of the game.
Yeah.
So,
and that's the real problem with the whole pitching, hitting on the same night thing, too, that nobody talks about. He was in the 2 slot last night. So if he doesn't go 7, they have the pitcher spot in the 2 slot in the lineup. So then you get into this whole situation where, you got to double switch, and you got to do this, and you got to do that. And it's just this whole convoluted thing. Whereas you could just have him, you could just say, hey, on the day you're not starting for us, you're in the lineup and you're playing first base. On the day you're starting, you're definitely not hitting, and somebody else is obviously playing first base.
By the way, who did not play first base last night? Albert Pujols. Mm-hmm. So what did you do with Pujols last night? He pinch hit one time, he was done. Mm-hmm. And we can criticize him for being slow and not having wheels anymore. Albert Pujols can still hit.
Yeah.
And it's a little surprising. I just think it throws your whole lineup off kilter. And there's just no reason to go through this.
You got to find a way to maximize the Shohei situation for your lineup so that you can have consistency. That's what I would say.
So Kent is not pleased with our assessment of Shohei. Do you guys ever do anything other than hate on people you don't like?
How do we not like him?
Yeah, so who's saying we don't like Shohei Ohtani?
We started the conversation by saying we think he's a phenomenal player, and I just said it 5 minutes ago.
Just because it's different doesn't mean it's wrong. You have no ability to have an open mind. And it's like, okay, Kent, I understand maybe that you think we don't have an open mind. I look at baseball from an experience perspective. I've seen a lot of teams handle a lot of pitchers a lot of different ways. You know, in my experience, the San Francisco Giants under Dave Righetti absolutely handled pitchers the right way. Regimented, they knew what time, what day, how they were going to be used. The bullpen guys, and we've talked about this, I know, so sorry to be redundant. Bullpen guys knew what situations they needed to be ready for.
Mm-hmm.
Shohei Ohtani just knows what he wants to do, and that's what he's going to do.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels are mishandling this. I look at the Arizona Diamondbacks. I think Torey Lovello is not very good at handling his bullpen. And it's because he's gone through a pretty good list of pitching coaches. And I think that they just don't value development in Arizona. So you wind up with the Jimmy Sherfies of the world who go back and forth to Reno, and they're not passionate and they're not plugged in, and you know, they have no idea when they're going to pitch or what situation they're going to pitch in, so they don't have effectiveness. I look at Joe Madden. You can question Joe Madden's use of the closer, sure. Last night, what did he get? He got Steve Cishek giving him an inning and a third of perfect baseball because Steve's a professional who they signed last week, and Joe Madden, I guarantee you, knowing the way Joe Madden handles pitchers, when they signed Cishek, he went to Steve and he said, here's how you're going to be used. You're going to be used in these situations. And that's exactly what he got.
Yeah.
And he's getting good performances. The Angels have to figure out how to change the pace with Shohei Ohtani. Because you have a guy in Joe Madden who's widely respected across baseball. He commands respect in his clubhouses.
Yeah.
But he has no control over Shohei Ohtani.
And I think that the last thing I would say on this Ohtani thing is I think that you know, people like, I think his name was Kent or whatever, hating on us, you know, I think folks like that, when they have the Ohtani situation or the conversation rather, they think that with us saying this that we're hating on him, and I said 4 times it's not really even about Ohtani as a dude. It's not like about him as a guy. I could care less. Like, you know, I don't care about him as a dude. It's more just like, hey, this guy is an investment over the next 20 years for the organization. And we're sitting here trying to figure out, and we're trying to tinker with like how we're going to use him and maximize him and all this stuff. And what I'm saying is, hey man, you've got probably 50 other guys in your pipeline who are coming, who can throw 100 miles an hour, who've probably got a filthy slider, and by the way, who probably have an awesome changeup. So I'm not as worried about the pitching side of this conversation as I am about the hitting side. This guy legit could be a silver slugger every single year and could be an awesome addition in that lineup to help Mike Trout.
He is on par with Mike Trout.
As a hitter, yeah,
Yes.
he is. I mean, he's very capable, and that's why I say
And he's shown that he can play some first base.
it's not a talent issue. We're not saying he's a bad player. What we're saying is that long term, it's not a viable option to run him out there 4 out of every 5 days, right? And ask him to hit and pitch and do all of this. It's just not feasible.
I think it's if, not when he gives up pitching.
Yeah.
I think it's because you're going to get paid way more money as a hitter. He's not stupid. And B, I think the injury history with him as a pitcher is
It is there.
as well.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah. So